Welcome to the Wandering Road, a place where the unseen moves all around us. The stories you'll hear aren't just whispered legends. They're shadows that cling, footsteps that follow, and whispers that never fade. Every turn pulls you closer to the unknown, and once you've heard what waits here, the night will never feel the same again.
Hey, all. Welcome back to another episode of the Wandering Road podcast. I'm your host, Chris, alongside my co-host, Dean. And back for another episode is the host of the Let's Get Freaky podcast and my future co-host of Let's Get Footy, Tommy. Welcome back to the show, Tommy.
Let's go. How are we, gentlemen? Thank you for having me, man. Excited to be back.
Yeah. We've planned this out for a while. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. We were just on your show about a week ago, so that was a good 2.5 hour conversation.
Yeah, man. We talk. We do talk. That is for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I see you got the Orient shirt on. I got my Liverpool kit.
I'm repping the Mighty O's. It is a little bit tight, I have to be honest. It's been a while since I wore this top, and I didn't realise maybe I've had too much Guinness.
Speaking of Guinness,
months.
You forgot your Guinness.
I know.
We got ours.
We
You're in
agreed.
the UK. Can't you just like reach out your door and just like get next?
Pretty much.
They're just like Guinness like outside your door. Like I had to
Literally
travel 5 miles to get a Guinness.
No, really?
Really?
Man. I've
Holy
got an energy
shit.
drink. We'll pretend this is Guinness.
Close
It's
enough.
not Guinness.
It's not a good.
It's nowhere near as good as Guinness. It's a relentless. That is a lot worse than Guinness. It's a lot worse for you.
Now, okay, hold
yeah.
on. Being totally honest, where would you put Guinness on a scale of 1 to 10? And is there anything that is easily above Guinness?
I don't think there is. Honestly, I think
No.
Guinness is
Okay.
the best drink.
Pinnacle.
I think
Okay.
it's the pinnacle. And I don't know what it is about Guinness. When you drink a Guinness, you feel a lot more healthy than when you drink like a regular beer. I don't know if you guys feel
Yeah.
the same. It feels like you're drinking
I
something
think
that's
so.
it's actually quite good for you, you know?
Yeah.
It's got iron in it, you know? It's good
It's
for
like
you,
eating a
man.
potato. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's creamy. I think
Mhm.
Guinness is amazing, man. Apparently, I really want to go to Dublin, to the Guinness factory. You can go in there and you can like watch them make it
Yes.
and stuff. You get
Oh,
a free
wow.
Guinness. I've not done it, but I really would like to do that and just get a proper like, Irish Guinness. And you know, I love Guinness, man. Have you watched House of Guinness on Netflix?
Mm-mm.
No,
You
is
need
it
to
good?
Watch that. It's so
Okay.
good. It's like the story of Guinness, like, and it's like wild. I think it's made by
Sweet.
the same people that made Peaky Blinders, which is a
Okay.
great show. I don't know if you guys have seen
Yeah,
that.
oh my god. That's why I have this haircut, because my wife is obsessed with the Peaky Blinders. She's like, you're gonna get your hair cut like that dude. I'm like, okay.
Let's go.
High and tight.
Right.
The Peaky Blinders.
Nothing like going over here when we go watch the match at the pub. I took you, Dean. It was like fucking-
Yeah, that was
it was like
that was
9
my
o'clock in
first
the morning.
experience. Yes, my first experience with breakfast beer and Irish like food and like breakfast food. And we sat in that like wooden pub with mahogany and like all kinds of stuff around, had a Guinness, had like potatoes. I can't remember the name of the stuff, but like potatoes and eggs and stuff. And it was so awesome. I'm like, we don't have anything like that in Hawaii right now, but it was a blast.
What time was that in the morning?
It was like 9. We got there at 8:30.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I would,
There were like 3 people there.
dude, for the lunchtime kickoffs in the UK, we get there at like 7 a.m., sometimes 6:30,
Wow.
and they'll start serving
Straight
us
on the
out-
biz.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. It'll be like around 7 o'clock, and I'll tell the bartender, "All right, start me with an Irish coffee." And then when I get my breakfast, I get a Guinness with it,
Yes.
and it's just perfect.
Well, they say-
Guinness goes great with food. It really
you can
does.
drink Guinness any time of the day. It's
Mm-hmm.
perfect. You know, they always in the UK they say it's lunchtime somewhere, so it's absolutely fine to have a drink anytime.
But Tommy, we're not here to talk football or talk about Guinness, unfortunately, even though I could talk about this all day. We are back to talk more paranormal stuff, man.
Yes.
So I think if you haven't listened to Tommy's episode, you have to go back and you need to listen to that episode. It's probably one of the best episodes that I ever
Oh
done.
man.
And it's
Oh.
episode 146. If you have not listened to that episode or watched that episode 146, it'll give you some context to some of the stuff that Tommy's going to be sharing today. So
My
it's kind of
crazy
like,
life.
yeah, it's not like you said on your show. It's kind of not like a part 2. Like we could go in any direction, but
Mhm.
if like for the rest of your paranormal stuff that you haven't shared or anything, would love to hear that and have you share those stories. And plus, Dean wasn't around for the first one, so buddy, like by all means, I won't hog.
But I've had quite a lot of weird stuff happen to me throughout my life. I never really thought I was someone that had a lot of paranormal experiences until I started doing Let's Get Freaky, and I really started thinking about all the weird stuff that I'd experienced and all the weird stuff that my family had experienced. We've always been one of those families that kind of have shared the family ghost stories, and passed them down, and I've always been fascinated by them. So I guess it's always been a part of my life and a part of my family's life. We're all very much interested in the paranormal as well. And we've all had quite a lot of experiences, man. And I think, last time I was on the podcast, I shared, the biggest experience I had when I was a child, where I woke up and there was an entity in my room. There was a full-bodied apparition in my bedroom. He looked like William Shakespeare. He was from that kind of period, and he was just sitting there in my bedroom at the desk. And I was absolutely terrified. And that ordeal, I'll say, it lasted for the whole night. And I was so scared. My mum came in the room. She couldn't see the guy sitting there, but I could still see him, and I could see him the whole night. And from that kind of night on, the paranormal was just real to me. It was like there was no doubt in my mind that what I experienced there was real, and I've continued to have weird things happen since then, man. Really, I was a weird kid before that, to be honest.
So you said you said your family have also at some point have had experiences. Have you guys ever delved into your genealogy or your history of where you've come from, like your lineage or anything like that whatsoever?
I've done. Oh, what's it called? Where you spit in a cup and they tell you where you're.
Oh yeah, it's like there's
The
different ones
DNA
like
thing.
23andMe and DNA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure I should have done it now. Now I'm into like conspiracies. I'm like,
AI.
oh, maybe I shouldn't have given my DNA away. But yeah, I've done that, and I've got a little bit of Danish in me, a bit of Swedish in me. I think it was 6% Danish, 2% or 4% Swedish. The rest was like UK, all over the UK. I got a lot of family as well in the US as well. A lot of family ties in the US.
Nice.
But not really like deep look. I haven't had a deep look into my history. I'd love to. I'd love to know like exactly where we came from. I know there was they tell you like the main job roles that your family's had, and it's been
Yes.
like
Yeah.
blacksmiths and things like that. That was like the main job. We were like the blacksmiths.
Yeah. That's
But yeah,
awesome, man.
I would love to know more. I really would.
I had to ask because I feel like it would be easier for people who live in the UK and who have had family for generations in the UK to track that. And I've heard stories of people from there, like being able to go back as far as like, oh, we had a coat of arms and like we had XYZ in our family, like person XYZ in our family. And so like, but I always kind of jump back to there when I hear stories about paranormal in the UK and the deep, rich history that exists and the many generations that are still there that have been on that look like on location to this day. Like, I think that's part of it. Like, that's just my feeling. I don't know how you feel about that, but like, I feel like a lot of the experiences that are paranormal or supernatural, especially when you talk about seeing people from, 300, 400 years ago, that's really significant because I feel like few people have paranormal experiences where they can actually pinpoint the time period in which that specter came from. And so that one you talk about, jumps out at me as like just like really rare.
That was pretty wild. So that was, I know I talked about it in the first episode, but that was a very haunted house. There was a lot of high strangeness that happened in there. It was quite a suppressive feeling. There was always it wasn't always negative in the house, but there was like some real negative times. Every night I was terrified to go to bed. You know, I was always scared of the dark. Still am to this day. That was I saw a couple of things in that house. I did saw a naked lady walk past that looked exactly like my mum. That we, you know, could possibly be some sort of doppelganger. I don't know. But it was more the vibe of that house that we lived in, that we grew up in. There was a lot of negative in that house. It wasn't always negative. Like, we had some good times in the house, but as soon as we left, it was like a relief. You know, growing up in a house that was so active, and you know, it was a scary place, man. It's a scary time.
Can I ask, like, what? So, other than the things that you saw there, what made you think, or what makes you think that it was negative or more negative? Were there like, was it like kind of things that presented themselves in a scary way to you, like messing with you, or was it just the energy that was there that kind of made it seem negative as opposed to positive?
I think it was the energy. It was the feeling that I used to get as a kid. I was always like terrified. I remember because we lived very close to our school, and I remember one day I was off sick. I was off school sick, and my mum went to pick my brother up, and she was like, "I'm going to leave you for like 2 minutes. You're going to be okay." It was very close to the house. I know she probably should have left me there, but I just remember she went to the school, and I could literally see the school from one of the bedroom windows, and I just remember being like so scared. I know I was only a little kid, but there was just moments in that house that were like, you know, really heavy. Is the only way I can describe it. You would hear weird noises all the time. You felt like something was watching you all the time. You would be laying in bed and you'd hear someone walking around, you know, things like that. It was just, and it wasn't until we left. I think I was 12 when we left the house. And my dad was like, "I'm so glad we got out of that house." You know, the whole family felt this, you know. And I remember being in my new house for the first time. And I had my own room at first in this new house. And I remember being in my new room for the first time so I was laying in bed the first night in this new room. I had the windows are open because there was no curtains up because we just moved in. And so I could see like the layout of the room, but I remember laying in my bed in my brand new room thinking, "I'm not scared. This is weird. Why am I not scared?"
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to go back to that house and kind of talk to the people that live there now, just to see if they experience anything or seen anything. You know, I don't know how that would be if I'm knocking on their door saying, "Do you guys seen seen any naked ladies or any Shakespearean ghosts in this place?"
I live in your attic right now. Do you guys see anything?
But yeah, so for me, that was just like I said, the paranormal has always been real to me. If that makes, I know I don't like the term knower. You know, when people say I'm a knower, you know, I'm not a knower. I just know what I've experienced. You know, and the night I saw an entity in my room, you know, you could argue my mum didn't see it, so was it in my mind? But for me, I don't think it was. I think I was seeing something there. You know, I saw it all night. There was a full-bodied apparition in my room for all night, basically. Like I was going under my covers, sweating up, and I just remember I kept peeking, and he was still there. And I'll go back. The reason why I didn't jump out the room and run out screaming is because I was always getting in my mum and dad's bed, and they like, kind of had enough of it. So I'd wake up during the night and I'd jump in bed with my mum and dad. And I was 10 years old, so my mum and dad were like, "He's got to start staying in his own room." And I remember my mum coming in the room and like trying to calm me down, and then saying, "No, you're staying in your room tonight. You know, there's nothing in here. You're absolutely fine." And I just remember going under the covers and just sweating. And I just kept looking, and this guy was still sitting in the corner of my room. You know, it didn't move. And my brother had the same, had a similar experience. He woke up one night, and he saw in the same area where I saw the dude. He saw 2 red eyes. Red eyes are never good, man. When you hear red eyes, it's never a good thing. And he said they were just kind of floating towards him, and then they disappeared.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but my brother's a lot more skeptical than me, even though he's had quite a few experiences himself. He's still the skeptical one out of the both of us, but I think it's, when we look back, it's kind of undeniable what we experienced in that house. So yeah, man.
So I want to toss it back to Chris for comments, because he's had a lot of similar experiences from past episodes he's brought up. But the last thing I want to ask before that is, so nothing followed you to this new house, it sounds like. So like in the past, we had a lot of guests talk about how they had experiences in one location where they lived for a while, and then things seemed to follow them wherever they went. So it was kind of like an attachment, so to speak. But you, doesn't sound like you experienced that. Like, is that true? Like, do you think that it was very much tied to that location? And also the second part to the question is, who do you think that guy was sitting in the corner of your room? If you like your wildest guess, like you just have no idea.
That is a good question. I don't know who the guy was. I will say that the house was very close to a graveyard, an old graveyard, a very old graveyard as well, with a lot of history. Brentwood in Essex is where this happened, and there was a lot of history of highwaymen there. And I didn't realize until very recently there was also like witch trials there and stuff like that. And this predates like the Salem witch trials and stuff like that. So it's a very, there's a lot of negative things that have happened there. I know negative things have happened everywhere. But, this guy he could have been some sort of highwayman, like possibly, he had like a brown suit on, he had like big brown boots on. And I can remember him like so clearly, because it's just that you can't get that out of your head. He had like a brown beard, like long brown hair. He looked like William at the time when I was a kid. It was like I put it to William Shakespeare, because that was probably what we was learning in school at the time or whatever. But I don't think it was William Shakespeare. It just kind of,
that'd be amazing.
Be
haunted by William Shakespeare.
Why does he pick me?
See, okay, so hold on. I don't know if this is the same for Chris, but like learning about William Shakespeare in the U.S. when we were younger, we always had the picture of him with the giant frilly like circle, like whatever piece around his neck. So that's what I pictured when you said this guy looked like William Shakespeare.
This dude did have like a white kind of collar around his neck. He did have that sort of thing. Yeah, man. It did look like William Shakespeare. I don't think it was William Shakespeare, but we do know that we believe, we're not 100% on this, but we believe the guy, the lady that we bought the house off, we believe her husband possibly died in the house. We're not 100% sure of this, but we know he was very sick prior to us buying the house, and it's possible that he passed away in the house. He was a doctor, and his office was directly underneath our bedroom. So I don't know what he looked like, this guy, to be honest. So maybe he looked
So maybe he liked to dress up as William Shakespeare.
I was gonna say that gives me some comfort. I'm like, if you die in the 1980s and you can totally LARP and like dress in whatever clothes you want, okay,
absolutely,
we can do that.
That's the era I liked. Yeah, it might have been. But I don't know. I mean, the entity that I say entity, I don't know, ghost, whatever you want to call it. If I saw that man now in the park, right, and I walked past him, it was so solid, I probably wouldn't think ghost. I'd just think that guy was like, he likes dressing up as William Shakespeare. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of.
Your mom was actually in there, like your mom was there, and she didn't see him.
Yeah. And I'm hysterical. Like, I'm crying and I'm pointing to where he's sitting. We had like a little desk in the corner of our room, and he was sitting at the desk basically, and he kind of had his head in a fist, like looking in my direction. He didn't actually move. Like there was no, I didn't notice his even face moving. He was like just a moment in, I don't know what moment in time. I don't know what it was, but he was solid. He was it was weird because I could kind of see color. It wasn't like he was glowing. But I could see that he had a brown suit on. I could see he had brown hair. I could see he had brown boots. But it wasn't. I wouldn't say he was glowing. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I was seeing him like you would see him if it was daytime. I don't know if that makes sense. But it was dark. The room was dark.
Here's a crazy idea. Dual time slip. He's sitting there looking at you like, why is this fucking kid in my bed?
Yeah.
And
it was this futuristic lad in my bed.
Who's this little ginger kid?
And why is he crying in my room?
Oh, here we go. Another one. Yeah. Oh my God.
very possible. You hear stories like that, man. I mean, I've
Yeah.
talked to paranormal teams that and I'm sure you guys have as well, that are in a haunted location and they're communicating with something, and it sounds like whatever they're communicating is trying to communicate with them, as if it's like another paranormal team in another dimension or another time doing the same thing. I've heard that a few times. It's like maybe there is, I believe there is possibly different realms and stuff going on around. I don't know.
Right.
Obviously, I don't know, but I feel like there is more going on around us that we can't see, and it's constantly happening. And sometimes we might get a little glimpse of it. That's where I am right now, because even in this house, I wouldn't say it's overly haunted, but there's been a lot of weird stuff that's happened. There was a period where it was quite heavy in this house, and there's been a few weird things, but I don't know if that's the house or if it's just everywhere, because I'm kind of talking about this stuff all the time and I'm interested in it and I'm open to it. I think that's a big thing. I think that's why we sometimes see stuff and experience things. I think every house possibly can have weird stuff happening if you're open to it, if that makes sense. But some places are just, obviously, for whatever reason, seem to be more scary. I don't know. I don't know why that is, but yeah,
attract more energy or something.
More energy.
I gotta say, like it's way more freaky to me to think that there are multiple layers of reality that can overlap at some point or another, because that means that our reality is not the end all be all existence. But I don't know, maybe there's some comfort there, but also at the same time it's just like, oh well, there's a million, or there's an infinite number of me's and an infinite number of realities, and it's just like that gets really
I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that, because
that's hard.
Do we switch realities? Is that possible? Sometimes things feel a little bit off, things feel a little bit different. There's a slight
for the last
change.
decade they felt off for the last decade. Everybody blames the Hadron Collider when they they smashed atoms together in like however many kilometers long thing. And I don't subscribe to the whole paranormal supernatural conspiracy theory with the Hadron Collider, but that's like the enduring joke where it's like, oh, they switched us into an alternate reality and it's like the worst one we could have possibly gotten. It's just like war, disease, death, like, oh my god, just give it up. Just stop it.
my mum actually lives 40 minutes away from CERN now, so she lives in France.
Interesting.
Literally 40-minute drive from CERN, and she's got bad eyes, my mum, so she has to go to an eye clinic which is right near CERN, so she has to pass CERN to go to the eye clinic. And there is some weird stuff with CERN. Like, she knows a couple of people that work there, and it's a little bit weird.
Okay, really, I want to because I promise we're going to get back to your stories, but really quickly, what weird stuff? Because I'm so obsessed with CERN as like a scientific thing. Like, what are they trying to learn and stuff? But I love hearing the conspiracy theories about it. If you have a minute.
Yeah, well, my mum didn't know about this, the CERN conspiracy. She's lived there for quite a while now. I think she's been there 10 years in France. But she didn't know anything about this CERN stuff until she started listening to my podcast, and she was like, "What are they doing at CERN?" Because I've mentioned a few things.
Yeah.
So she knows a guy that worked on the tunnels. Now he will say, so she asked these guys now. Like, my son says you're doing weird stuff at CERN. He says that everything that they do at CERN is on. You can find the information. There's no secrets and stuff.
Right.
But I think he would be told to say that, right? If they were doing some dodgy stuff, all I can say that I know that I found out, because I've tried to get these guys on the podcast to talk about CERN. All I can say is that CERN is it's massive. There's like compartments within CERN. So like Bob Lazar, when he was talking about when he worked at Area 51, there was all like different compartments, and he worked on a certain area, and they didn't know what they were doing over there, and they didn't know what they were doing over there, and they kept to their parts. It's very much like that at CERN as well. That's what I found out. There's secret if people are doing different things. Obviously, that's
So
that might not be a conspiracy.
No, but here's the thing with that. If you have compartmentalization, that's exactly what that is. Compartmentalization means you have layers of trade secrets, whether it's, you know, in the government or it's the private sector. There are things that you don't want to be put together by somebody on the outside. So one of the primary ways they handle that is compartmentalization, to make sure you have specialists in this little bracket, specialists in this bracket, but you make sure the specialists don't talk to each other unless it's absolutely necessary. So the fact that they have that at CERN, like,
It's
what, like,
weird.
but why? Like, why would you need that level of secrecy? Like, if it's really just like ultra rich scientists or whoever's like pouring money into this thing to discover secrets of the universe, why would you need to keep that secret? That's like the red
Yeah.
flag for me.
Absolutely.
But again, like, I'm not like conspiratorial. Like, maybe they just have proprietary technology that they don't want to slip before they patent it. Maybe that, but like, at the same time, it seems really weird that they would want to compartmentalize like that.
Yeah.
I mean, from a logical perspective, they're literally smashing atoms.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what the whole, basically the
Purpose
gist of it
is.
to
Yeah.
smash atoms together to kind of understand
Measure the subatomic particle reaction.
particles.
And,
Yeah, and the basically trying to find out, like you said, the secrets of the universe. And as a result of that, I think it was it confirmed, or was it theorized that they've like opened up very temporarily like mini wormholes or like mini black holes that just like disintegrate into their self or something like that.
Yeah.
And
It's
Yeah.
pretty wild.
it's already proven that our 3D world is not the only thing that exists. There are other dimensions that we can't see. So maybe they're trying to figure out how to tap into those dimensions. But what we know with any type of scientific advancement like that, there is a way to turn that into weaponry. So
Mhm.
from a
Yeah.
logical perspective, I would
Right.
understand why they would compartmentalize it. Because if you're smashing atoms together, there is a way that if it gets into the wrong hands, that could turn into a very like devastating weapon.
Yeah, very true, man. Very true.
Yeah.
But I
I-
like the theory that they're opening up portals and demons are coming out. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds like a good
Really?
plot.
You like that?
That
Is that
sounds
what you
like
want, Chris?
that sounds like a good plot. for
You want the end of the
Right.
world, buddy?
Yeah, why not?
You want a
Does it
demon to
get any-
come?
Could it get any fucking worse?
So there's a lot of like symbolism at CERN and stuff like that. We've seen like
Yeah.
the videos of the weird what was it? They did like some sort of weird ritual. That really happened apparently. That wasn't a fake AI video. They were really doing
Yeah.
that at CERN. This was before AI. I think those videos came out, and that was
I
very
saw
weird.
those.
Why would they do that? Why would they do
Yeah.
that? Is it
The explanation from their side was like it was an interpretive, artistic, modern, you know, that I know that. Well, that was their explanation. Then people pointed to like, well, you had this symbolism, you had this weird action, like
And
that
what's-
kind of goes with it, like, you know.
What's the statue outside the front of the CERN? Is it Shiva or something? Is it like
Oh, Shiva. I think so. I think it's Shiva. Yeah.
I mean, why would they do that? Like,
Interesting.
it's just
Yeah.
what? Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Or maybe they do it just because they know they'll get a reaction out of people.
Yeah, maybe they're just playing
Get
with us.
attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, get more
Conspiracy bastards.
funding, right? Avant-garde. Who knows, man?
And obviously, the security in there is very tight. Obviously,
Yeah.
and that's an obvious one. So it takes a long time to. So one of the guys he knows doesn't always work at CERN, but he goes in and he does like the roads and stuff like that. And it takes him. He said it takes him about an hour to once he gets to CERN to actually get in and be able. And then he can't go everywhere he wants to go. There's only certain places he can go. But it takes him like an hour to get in. They have to go through all these like tests and stuff to make sure he's legit and stuff like that. And which you can kind of understand that because they're obviously doing some big stuff. But it is weird, man. But they're not going to tell you if they work at CERN. They're not going to tell you what they're doing if they're told not to, I guess. But
let's jump back a second. So I want to kind of start to branch off into the things that your whole family had experienced in the paranormal, because like we talked about on your show recently, kind of landed on this idea that, well, if you have one experience from one person, you can kind of look at that and dissect it in however way you will. But if you have multiple perspectives from different people, then it starts to get more solid as an experience. So can you talk more about your family's experiences?
Yeah,
as
man.
a whole?
But I can actually get into my UFO stuff. because the experiences I've had with UFOs
Yes.
have not really been alone. So there's been a few times that I've seen things that I can't explain, and luckily, it's not just been me. So when I was 14 years old, this is pretty wild. This is wild, but this 100% happened, right? So when I was 14 years old, we were playing football in the street, which we did every day during the summer holidays. We played football in the street, me and my brother and a bunch of friends. It's what we did most of the time, right? It was a beautiful summer's day, absolutely no clouds in the sky, absolutely beautiful. And we were playing soccer, football. And I don't know if it was me or one of my friends or my brother, I can't remember who it was, but one of us was like, what the heck is that in the sky, right? And we've all stopped and we've looked up, and this thing that we saw in the sky, I've never seen anything like it since. It was such a strange thing to see, right? And the best way for me to describe it, it's going to sound wild, but if you take a futuristic building that you see in Dubai, pick it up, put it way up in the sky, and just let it float, that is what we saw. I know that sounds wild. Okay, I know that sounds wild.
No.
But we're looking at it, we're like, what the heck is that? It's not a plane. It wasn't moving. I mean, we were saying, is it a balloon? We're going for all the things it could be, but we're watching it and it's just there. It's just floating. And it kind of looked like orange and silvery. That was the two kind of colors that were coming off of it. And it was just there. There was no movement to it. It was just there. And we're like watching it for 5-10 minutes, whatever it was, just trying to work out what it was. This is before, I did have a phone at the time, a cell phone, but it was like one of the old Nokia bricks that cameras weren't on. So there was no taking pictures of this thing. But it really bugs me. We just kind of stopped looking and just started playing football again. So we didn't see it disappear. We didn't see it fly off. We didn't even really talk about it, which is, I think, very strange because it was such a wild thing to see. And me and my brother never really spoke about it after that night, that day. I can't remember talking about it anyway. And it wasn't until I started doing the show, Let's Get Freaky, I kind of wrote down all the experiences that I'd experienced just to sort of refresh my mind of when I was younger and stuff. This memory didn't even come back to me, which I think is very strange because it was such a wild thing to see. And I was on Paranormal Heart podcast with Kat Ward. It was the first time I'd done a podcast, and it was just me and her talking, and I'm sharing all my experiences and stuff. And this memory kind of come back to me. I was like, I'm going to tell her. And it felt weird that I'd not remembered this. I was like, how have I not remembered this? I've told her this experience.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I've just finished and I was like, did that really happen? Am I manifesting that in my mind? It was just very strange that I'd not remembered that. And then my brother called me up a couple of days later. He listened to the podcast and he went, bro, I heard you on the show, because it was the first time I'd ever done been on someone else's show. And he was like, what was that thing we saw that day? I remember, and we spoke about it. We had a conversation about it. And he remembered it exactly how I remembered it. And I was just so happy that he remembered it as well. That this wasn't like some mad dream that just come back to me.
Yeah.
We both remembered this happening. And
it was aha moment.
Yeah, it was just like, I was just relieved that I'm not just sharing a crazy dream or something, but this memory was there, but for whatever reason, we just didn't talk about it, didn't remember it, even though it was such an incredible thing to see.
I feel like it's rare to see something in the sky like that looks like city-esque. So it was more so just a singular building, right? Like a futuristic building. It wasn't so much like a city itself. But that, Chris, that reminds me of you probably know about this since you grew up with people who were Hindu or whatever. It reminds me of the Mahabharata and the story of the floating cities fighting or whatever over and causing mayhem. But that's crazy.
Whatever they call them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep.
I've never heard an actual person share an experience of seeing something like a floating city or building or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this was right up there. It was high up, but I can just imagine it being the size of a building and just being up there. I kind of, when I look at it now, I kind of see little windows on it and stuff, but I think that's myself adding that
filling
on.
in the blanks.
We couldn't see windows, right? It was just a weird shape. There was just weird shapes coming off of it, but it was like a orangey
yes,
and silver, and it was all like, it was very strange, man. And we were just watching it for ages, trying to work out what it was, going through what it could be, and it wasn't like anything we'd ever seen before. And there's an image that's come out recently that is AI, and I believe they're saying it is like a balloon, and it's like a weird shape. I'll have to send it to you guys. It is an AI image, but it's actually quite close to what we saw. It's not exactly what we saw, but I can imagine if you did put that up in the sky and sort of let it float, it would it looks similar. It wasn't that though, but I'll have to send that image to you guys. But I've never seen anything really that was exactly what we saw that day. And I don't know. I say UFO, no idea what this thing was. But it was wild. It was a pretty weird thing to see.
Man, I actually had a similar experience, but I don't think it was a UFO. I think it was like an aircraft, the U.S. military, that was not yet made public, and I just happened to like see it in a location that maybe it was in trouble coming down from a certain altitude or something. But I saw this plane when I was like, I don't know, like 8, 9 years old. I was really young, and I was hanging outside of the school that my mom worked at, and I was by myself, and it was in the middle of the day. By the way, it was just broad daylight, and I look up in the sky and I see this plane, but the plane tip has imagine like a big arrowhead. Like it was a fuselage, like a regular fuselage, but then at the very front, it came to like an arrowhead where it was like a point, and the sides flanged out from the fuselage, and I could see like a bay of windows that wrapped all the way around the front. And I actually came across a TikTok video maybe like 6 or 7 months ago, and it happened to be of previously like classified airplanes of the US government that were decommissioned or that were never released or they were discontinued. And one of them was in there. And now I'm going through my phone now, like after that story, to try to, because I took a screenshot of it. But as we talk and continue on, I will jump back in later with the name of the aircraft that I'm pretty sure that I saw when I was like 8 or 9 years old. That was top secret, for whatever reason, it was flying over Western PA at that time.
Man, I mean, I guess you can't rule out that whatever we saw that day was like possibly technology that we had that never, I think there is, obviously our governments have secret technology that we don't know about. My granddad actually had a very strange experience that he always used to share with me when we were younger. And he told this story so many times, it never changed. And I asked my nan recently, I was like, did granddad actually see that? Did that actually happen, nan? Like, because my granddad, he could be a prankster sometimes. Like, he did have a house behind his house that he said the fairies lived in. That was like his little thing. He was like, there's a fairy house and stuff. So he had that side when we were little, where he was like trying to, please us as kids or whatever. But this story that he shared it, into my adulthood and stuff. He's passed away now. I'd love to have had him on the podcast to go through it, but never got that chance. But he was on a golf course, and he was walking his 2 dogs on this golf course. And he said he was going down like the fairway. He probably should have been walking the dogs on the golf course, but he's walking along, and he said he saw this like black object come up from the tree just in front of him. And he said it was quite big, and he said it was like a triangular kind of shape, and it just started coming towards him. Now, this would have been, I believe, like 90s, maybe early 2000s, before we had drones, before we knew about drones. And he said it was quite big, and it freaked him out. My granddad he wasn't scared too easily, but this freaked him out. And he got the dogs, and he ran into the closest bit of forest area that he had, and he's going through, and he said he saw this black object hovering above him, like following him through the forest, like he could see it through the trees. And this thing's following him. He's got to a road, and there was like a scout group walking along. And he said he just joined this scout group, and this thing disappeared. But he stood like he shared that story so many times. Like he saw that. Yeah, it's a weird one, man. I've got another weird UFO experience. I've got a few, but this is another one that's pretty cool and it's undeniable. So, me and my wife, when we first moved out together, we had a flat in Brentwood. which is not far from where we saw this weird thing in the sky when we were kids. So this is about a 10-minute drive up the road from there. So I was 27 when this happened, and we was on the fourth floor of a 4-story building. And again, it was a beautiful summer's day, around summer's time, a lovely day, clear sky and stuff. And me and my mother-in-law were talking at the window, and we're having a chat. And all of a sudden, there was a little forested area just opposite so you had the road, and then there was a forested area. 3 objects came out of the forest. They weren't really big, but they were like the size of like a football or a basketball. 3 of them, and they were moving around each other. They were like in kind of like a triangular fashion. They weren't touching, but they were like just spinning around each other, and they were like the perfect distance apart from each other, right? But they weren't actually touching, and they were constantly changing shape, and they were never the same shape. They were like always different. They were like their own organism, like moving, and they were like a silvery, like metallic looking color. And me and my mother-in-law are watching this, and they're just kind of rising, but moving around, constantly moving, constantly changing shape. And we were like, what the heck is that? Are they balloons? And we're watching and we're trying to figure out what it is. And we're getting a good look at these things. And it's quite close to the window. And they're just rising up, constantly moving around each other, constantly changing shape. So it's like they were individual, but they were connected some way. And they were going up and up and up. And they continue to circle each other in the perfect formation, you know. And we're following these things all the way up to the sky. And all of a sudden they just went flash, flash, flash. And all 3 of them just shot off into the atmosphere. And that was like, we were like, what the heck was that? You know, what the heck have we just seen? That wasn't balloons. You know, balloons don't just shoot off into the atmosphere. They were constantly changing shape. They were like a living organism or something. It was so weird. And to this day, me and my mother-in-law, we talk about it at family parties and stuff. Like, remember when we saw those UFOs? Or we say UFOs. And family members are like, you sure they weren't balloons? You know, they could have been balloons. We're like, they definitely weren't balloons. You know, balloons don't shoot off into the atmosphere. Balloons don't stay perfectly in formation. And it was, I can't, again, I've not ever seen anything like it, like on a TikTok or anything like that. You know, sometimes you see things that are similar. Not really seen anything like we saw that day. And what bugs me about that day is I had my cell phone in my pocket. I didn't even think about getting it out and recording, you know. But I'm just so happy my mother-in-law was there and we witnessed it together. And it is, you know, because as we were saying last week, when you have an experience, you can never rule out that you're not kind of in your mind and you're manifesting this stuff. But you can never fully rule that out when it's just you having an experience. But when you're with someone that's seeing it as well, seeing exactly the same thing, then it's like, it's just, I know when we have a paranormal experience, we know we're having an experience, right? But just for you know, people listening, when 2 of you have that experience, it's like undeniable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I want to go back to something you just said, Tom. When you have a paranormal experience, you kind of know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of a blur. Is this really happening?
It's like a shock. Yeah.
Is there? Yeah, it's like a bit of a shock, and then like after it happens, and maybe like a day or 2, you think back on it. It's like, did that really happen? Like when I was on your show and I shared those dreams that I remember vividly. I'm like, were those just dreams? Was there something weird? Like, because you remember it so vividly. I wanted to ask you, Tommy, with those UFO experiences, like, what are your thoughts on that phenomenon in general, and you know, about extraterrestrials in general? I don't think I've ever asked you about that, or have we ever talked about that?
Yeah. I think there's a lot more to one answer when it comes to the UFOs. I think there's a lot of different things going on that we kind of put in the same bracket. We like UFO, UAP. It's like one thing, and I believe there's a number of different things going on. You know, because people say, are these things interdimensional? Are they from another planet or plate, another solar system? You know, are they always around us and sometimes we just get a glimpse? I think it's like literally all those things that we kind of put in the same bracket. I think some of it is like probably our own technology that we've got that they're not going to tell us about for 20, 30 years when it, or maybe never tell us about it, you know. But I think that there's a number of different things going on. I think that's sometimes why the UFO topic can get a little bit confusing, because we put it in the same bracket, but it might not. And that you could say that the same with like ghosts and entities and things like that. You know, we put a lot of that stuff in the same bracket, but maybe there's a lot of different things going on there as well, I think. And with like cryptids, you know, you've got the Bigfoot conversation. You get people that say these things are like a flesh and blood, and you know, they'll fight that these things are like an undiscovered ape, and then you'll get other people that say these things are like an interdimensional creature and there's a supernatural element to them, and they both could be true. Maybe there is more than one, you know, one of these types of creature, you know. And I think that's the same with UFOs and things like that. I think the answer, there's multiple answers, I believe.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. The only thing that I'm never sold on is the people that think that UFOs are demons. That always just
Yeah,
like, just
fitting in
because
your
it's
narrative.
like,
religion. Yeah.
yeah, just because it's like an alien. If we ever see them, they ever come down and you know, and say
Mhm.
like, "Hey, this is where we are. This is where we're from." Oh, you're a demon. Like, no,
Yeah,
just no.
because we haven't got the answers to any of it. That's what I always
Right.
find, like when you get people that like push their narrative, they're like, no, it's this, can't be anything else because of this. It's like we don't know. We haven't got the answers, so you can't really say that that's what it is. You know, there's, you know, I don't know if anyone knows what these things are. But I think there's a number of different. I think maybe some of them are demons. I don't know, but not. I don't think you can say all of it is demonic. You know, a lot of people have very positive experiences when it comes to aliens and things like that. You know, and just because it's a difficult one, because as you guys know, it gets very political in the paranormal world. People like
Yeah.
to argue their own narrative and belief, but ultimately we don't know what these things are at all. You know, we don't know, so it's hard to argue about what they are when there's no proof.
Right. No,
And
that's
a
that's
lot of
true.
people do.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
That's what weirds me out about reality. And I said this on the last recording we did on your show, Tommy, where it's like, well, if you have ghosts and paranormal and religious experiences that are totally separate from whatever you're seeing a specter, but then you also have cryptids like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster, and then you also have like deep space aliens who have been around for a million years and they're studying us or they created us, like all these things existing simultaneously in reality, it just seems so weird. And then I inevitably, when I try to like keep all those in my head at the same time, I just devolve back into like, oh, there maybe there's gotta be like some kind of artificial intelligence, or you know, we're in a simulation or something like that, like it's a giant video game we're living, where like, you know, in what's that game, oh my god,
Sims.
no, not like Sims, but it's Grand Theft Auto 5, where you
Yes.
can play like this whole life of like driving around tearing things up in the city, but then you can go out and discover Bigfoot in the middle of the woods. But it's basically a video game. Like it's just like you can get abducted by UFOs. It's like all existing simultaneously, and it's
Mhm.
such a weird existence.
Yeah. I hope it's all real, to be honest. I hope it's all real.
Yeah, so no one's crazy.
No one's crazy. It is a weird world we live in. I mean, just last week we had Barack Obama saying aliens are real, and then obviously, you know, Trump was saying he shouldn't have said that. It's disclosure, and like, why is it disclosure? Why is it a secret? Why, you know? I know that's going on the conspiracy route, but you know, if there's something there to hide, there's something there. Basically, you know, if he shouldn't be talking about something that is not real, why would it matter? Very strange.
Now that we're on the topic, I'm gonna kind of steal your thunder here, Dean, because we've talked about this
Do it.
through quite a few episodes. Dean's, well, I don't want to say your argument because it's not necessarily yours in particular, right? I think it's kind of a shared consensus among people that the worry is that like society and like economics and everything will collapse around us.
Mhm.
And I'm a proponent for I don't care, because it's kind of artificial anyway.
Yep.
we make it up. Because anytime like I'll bring up like, the global deficit, the global debt. It's like, who the fuck do we owe money to? Megatron? Like, is for anime people, is Frieza gonna come down and come to collect his debt? What the fuck are we talking about here? Honestly, that shit irritates the fuck out. Like, oh, we can't have aliens because my theoretical dollars are not gonna be worth anything anymore. Like, who gives a shit? If it can advance us as a society, as a civilization, I'd rather deal with than the fucking slop we deal with consistently year on in, year on out, all the fucking time for my entire fucking life. It's been the same shit, different year. If aliens can help fix that, fine.
Come on down.
I'll deal with the consequences.
By the way, just to update my perspective, I no longer think that society would totally collapse like I did maybe like 5 years ago, because we've been through so much stuff.
So much shit.
We've been through so much stuff. And what did we say like, a couple years ago, where it's all desensitization, like with the release of all these movies and sightings. And we've freaking even had our Senate, like the US Senate, debating on disclosure and all that stuff. That was around like 2 years ago. That was a real thing for a while that should have blown people's minds, but it just kind of petered out. By the way, really quickly, the 2 planes that I found that look similar to what I saw over the skies of Pennsylvania, you can Google it. There's it's called Tacit Blue. So Tacit Blue, if you Google that, is a Northrop Grumman plane that was actually retired in like the late 80s, I think. So it kind of looked like that, but it also in my memory could have looked like something called the XB-70 Valkyrie, which was retired long ago. What's interesting about the XB-70 Valkyrie is that there's one left in Ohio, which is not too far away from where I would have seen it. However, the one that's left in Ohio is purely just display. Apparently it doesn't fly anymore. So I'm not so sure that I would have seen this plane, but like that, basically that's what I saw in the sky, where it had like these weird fins around the cockpit. So either the XB-70 Valkyrie or the Tacit Blue plane, where there's like things sticking out of the cockpit sides, but it just freaked me out. And it just goes to show you that, nobody probably ever heard about these planes, even to this day. Like, you've probably never heard of these planes, but they've long since been retired. And so who knows, like in the next however many years things come out, it's like, oh, by the way, this thing's been out, and flying around for decades, and we just retired it. And then it looks just like a UFO or something like that.
Very recently, the Bank of England were preparing for disclosure. Apparently, did you guys see that story recently? The Bank of England. There was a story that came out saying that they had like a plan for when disclosure comes out, because they believe the market could crash, and they were preparing for it. Again, I don't know. I think most people now will say that they believe that there's more out there. I think your average person is pretty open to the fact that we're probably not alone, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Most people have seen something weird in the sky that they can't explain quite often.
Yeah,
There's just too much.
Answer. I think what would happen as soon as we got disclosure, you'll have some weird people. Well, I don't want to say weird people. You'll have some panicky people that'll go nuts, won't know what to do with themselves. You'll have your sect of people that'll be like, "Oh, the end is nigh." You always get that every year, every decade. Every year, somebody knows when the rapture is going to happen or when the end of the world is going to happen. Then it doesn't.
It's coming soon. It's coming soon.
Yeah, right. So, coming soon to a theater near you. But but like what I really think would happen is like, oh, cool. Do I have to go to work tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Whatever. Like,
that's
fuck
the
you,
thing.
ET. Like, I don't.
I think we're so busy in our lives now, and that's probably done on purpose as well, with the daily grind, looking after our families. We don't want to worry about. Obviously, we do, because we do a podcast about it. But the average person doesn't want to worry about aliens. It's the least of their problems, I guess. But I mean, they've as good as told us, that they're out there. The Tic Tac video, which came out not too long. The New York Times released that quite a few years back now. I can't remember the exact year, but I mean, that was pretty much kind of disclosure. This word disclosure gets used quite a lot, but I think we've kind of already had it. in a way. I don't know what is the proof going to be if they land on the White House lawn and come out, and is that going to be enough proof? I don't know. I don't know what the actual proof is. We've kind of already had it, and so many people have had experiences.
I think we've had quite a bit of disclosure, but a lot of people won't accept it as disclosure because they haven't come down and had a conversation. It's like they didn't come on and help give uh Alan Shearer commentate the highlights on Match of the Day. Like I think if that happens,
be
then it's
amazing.
like, yeah, they'd be like, okay, that's interesting. But I think if I had to take an educated guess of what's happening with like aliens, UAPs, and stuff like that, it's kind of like what we're doing with exploration, and they just happen to find us, and to be honest, we're kind of primitive from a civilization perspective. Dean, we've talked about that civilization scale. We're not even a level 1 civilization. We're like 0 or whatever on that scale. Yeah, so we're probably just being observed, and they're probably deciding, is it even worth talking to these creatures who are so hell bent on killing each other?
Guys, this was
Probably
already
not a good
covered by
idea.
South Park. This was covered by South Park like a decade ago.
Yeah, we're a TV show for them.
Tonight on Fogno. No, not even that one. The one where it was basically it was the slot car racer one.
Oh,
with
the one with the space cash.
Baby Force McGeezak.
Yeah.
Is this your money? Is this your space money? Oh yeah. This is, we got it from space. Like it's ours.
Yeah.
And then they come back and it's like, Earth, you failed, and they lock us forever.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening. I'm sure of it. There's no way. Like we have just had so many chances and we've just effed it up. And the ones of us who are like actually reasonable, who could have like run this world in a positive way to go out towards the stars, like we're just suppressed and we're tired and we're exhausted and we just don't want to deal with the other, people on this planet who are wrecking it, and then we're just stuck.
Yeah. And shifting back to the paranormal, since we've last spoken, when you were on the pod and we went on your show, apparently some weird stuff has been happening in the house again. So what's been going on, man?
Yeah, it's quite worrying. It's quite worrying, man. Because last time I was on the podcast, I shared that we went through a moment where it was like getting quite deep in this house where I am now. It was getting quite worrying. Kids were having experiences. The wife was having experiences. And I told you that I was praying out loud every day and, real intent for this to stop. And it did stop. And, I'm not saying it's come back thick and fast, but there's been a few things in the last couple of weeks that has made me kind of need to start praying again, man. Because I think this is a constant spiritual battle that we go through in this world. I really do. I really do believe that we are, especially when you look into it like we do. I think when you look into the paranormal, it looks back. So you're kind of asking for it anyway. But I think, you have got to stay on top of, people deal with these things in different ways, bless their house or whatever they want to do to make them feel safe. And I think that's important. And I think we have to stay on top of that, because there has been a couple of things that's happened in the last couple of weeks that's made me weird noises. I think I told you before, my wife a couple of times heard me call her name whilst I was at work. Well, that happened again very recently. She heard me call her name whilst I was at work, and that really freaked her out. Last week, or a couple of weeks ago now, I was in my kitchen. I was on my cell phone, and it was during the day, and no one else was in the house apart from my dog. And I'm on my phone, and like when you see something in the corner of your eye and you get the feeling that someone's there. I kind of felt someone in my doorway and could see him in the corner of my eye. And I looked, and for a split, like less than a second, there was something there, and it just disappeared. Again, I can't say that was definitely not my mind playing tricks, because as I said, we're talking about this stuff all the time. It's on our mind. It's even in our subconscious. I can't rule that out, but it was very weird, and it did make my heart skip a beat and got very scared. We went away to Center Parcs very recently as well, which is like a cabin in the woods in the UK. It's like a nice little family forest holiday place. It's very nice, but a few times that we've been there, weird stuff has, like, during the night, obviously you're in the woods, so you're going to hear weird noises, and when it's a bit windy and, you're in a cabin, so it creaks a little bit, but you hear some weird noises, and I always get a little bit freaked out. And we leave a light on in the hallway and stuff. It's a bit scary. But my last time we was there, my daughter, who's 14, she come into our bedroom like early hours of the morning, like really freaked out. And I have to preface as well, I don't share the paranormal stuff with my kids. I try to protect them from the paranormal. We don't talk about the podcast or anything like that. I don't force them to like be looking into the paranormal and, oh, have you seen anything? I don't ask them that sort of thing. It's only if they tell me, and I'm really trying to protect them from that kind of thing. So my daughter's come in, she's freaked out, and calming her down. What happened? What happened? She was in a bedroom with my other daughter, and my other daughter left the room during the night, so she was on her own in the room, Amy. And there was quite a few rooms in this cabin, so you could like move around to other rooms. So Amy's on her own in the room. She said she was awake. She woke up in the morning, and she was just laying there. It was early hours of the morning, and she said it was very like clear, very loud. She heard something go, and she done it in this kind of voice as well. Happy birthday. Like that, like a horrible kind of voice.
Oh my God.
I know that sounds wild. And the weird thing was, it was my daughter's birthday the next day, my other daughter's birthday the next day. Again, could she have been, in and out of a dream? Possibly. And we know that can happen. But it was very strange, and it was a scary thing to hear your daughter saying something like that. And again, we don't talk about the paranormal to my kids. Don't let them listen to the podcast or anything like that. So, yeah. But when I hear something like that, I take it seriously. Yeah.
My first thought, if I had a daughter that old, I would be like ripping that room apart, be looking for like the camera or the microphone or something. That's my first thought. But then if I didn't find anything, I'd be like, okay, now we're dealing with something strange here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. But she was very freaked out, as you can imagine. There's been a few things recently, because basically before, weird stuff was happening in the house, and it was kind of like a build up, and it was getting more, and getting scarier, getting freakier. More things were happening, and I think that's something that happens with hauntings. I think these entities can live off your fear and get more power off your fear, basically, and that seems to happen. And I'm just kind of trying to nip it in the bud now. Don't want any more experiences in this house. But as I say, it's been a bit weird the last few weeks.
Tommy, you have said that you don't like the dark. You're kind of afraid of it. In the episode that you did with us for the first time around, you mentioned that you still sleep with lights on. Do you think that has an impact along with the show? Because you still have an innate fear, and we know that these things thrive off of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've always, since I can remember, been scared of the dark. I've never been comfortable in the dark on my own. I know that sounds pathetic as a 38-year-old man, but I can't if the wife's not there. So if the wife's there, obviously we have the lights off and it's okay, I'm okay. But if the wife's not there, I will have a light on in the room or the telly light on, or I'll be listening to a podcast. I can't just lay in the dark on my own in silence. I just can't do it. I think I've seen and experienced too much that just those thoughts just come to my mind, and I'm just waiting to see something else, Yeah, so I think that is possibly, I've always got that kind of nervous energy there, possibly when it comes to the dark. So I don't know if I shared this last time. This happened not too long ago. So I finished obviously recording. So the time right now is like 3:00 in the morning UK time, and that is normal for me to record at this time. When I finish, I can't go straight to bed, so I go to bed about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning normally, and which is very normal for me to do. And then I get up with the kids for the school breakfast and stuff, and then I go back to bed till about 12 in the afternoon. So I basically live on Eastern Standard Time, US time. I went to bed one night about 5 o'clock in the morning. It was winter time, so it was dark. We've got dark curtains anyway, so if the curtains are drawn, it's dark in the room. So I went in the room, and the wife's in bed, and the kids had got in bed. It's quite regular that the kids will get in bed in our house, and I'll just leave them. So I laid on the floor, set up like a little camp on the floor, and just laid on the floor. And it was dark, but I was okay because the wife and the kids were in there as well, so it was okay. And I'm just kind of laying there. I'm not tired. I wasn't tired at all. I wasn't on my cell phone. It was like there, and I saw this like light, which was like the size of like a pen. It was just like a golden light, and it just flew around the room. Literally just, and I'm like, what the heck is that? I wasn't scared,
Yeah. Oh
but
my
like the
God.
first thought that came to my mind, and I was like, I've just seen a fairy. I'm not,
Wow.
I'm not saying it was a fairy. I don't know what it was,
Yeah. But
but it was like that was just my first. I've seen a fairy. That was like, I know I do a podcast where we talk to people that see fairies and stuff like that, and you could say that that's on my mind, but this light just came out of nowhere, right? Now I'm trying to get a little bit better at debunking things because I do always jump to the paranormal. I admit that when something happens, I'm like, "It was a ghost," right? It might not be sometimes, So I'm trying to debunk it. I'm getting my phone and I'm trying to recreate this light that I saw, but it wasn't a car going past or anything like that because it just
yeah.
it wasn't anything that I know it was.
Yeah.
The only thing I think it could have possibly been, if I'm being like ultra skeptic, is like there was a problem with my eye in that moment where I've seen a light. But which is possible, I guess, but I would have thought I would see stuff like that all the time if there was an issue with my eyes. So I don't know what that was. That was very recent as well, a few months back, but yeah, that was another weird thing that's happened in my life.
Tinkerbell came for a visit.
I like to think it was Tinkerbell. The weird thing was that I wasn't like when paranormal experiences have happened to me, I get very scared. Like, I'm not one of these guys that goes, "Yeah, it doesn't scare me, man. I love it. I'll run to it." No, I'm scared. Like, I don't
So
want.
you're smart. You're very intelligent. Yeah.
But
You
with
gotta-
this, yeah, well, I mean that's debatable. But with this, in this moment, I wasn't scared. It wasn't like, you know, it was just a weird one. It was just another weird experience. And when I have these experiences now, I have to share them. These are not. It might not be paranormal, but I think we're doing these conversations. It's important to share, document what we experience, and so I'll share it, even the weird stuff.
quick side question. Are you more in the camp that fairies and the fae people or the fae things are more mischievous and dangerous, or are they more just like benign and just like to get into some trouble, or mostly just good but kind of like to get into trouble?
I think again, it's a bit of both. But what I find
Man.
interesting with like fairy lore and stuff like that is that people experience the same stuff all over the world. They might call it something different, but ultimately it's the same things going on. Like in where I live in the UK, you've got pixies. They call them pixies. I don't know if they call them that in the US, but there's like a pixie law
Yes.
where these things are like mysterious little creatures. But then you go to New England in the US and you've got the puckwudgies, which are basically the same thing. They're describing exactly the same thing. They do the same thing, but it's just like a different name. And you've got that like everywhere, all over the world. There's different names for these mysterious creatures.
Yeah. Okay, so
find
you
that
guys are around the same age. You guys had Disney growing up, for the most part, at least a young age, I presume. Have you ever heard of this movie? So I'm laughing
I
already.
think I know what you're
'cause
going to
it's
say.
so ridiculous. Have you ever heard of Darby O'Gill and the Little People?
I watched that this past December.
You watched Darby O'Gill? Okay, Tommy,
Yeah.
have you ever heard of Darby O'Gill and the Little People?
That's not what I thought you was going to say. No, I'm not sure.
No?
What is it? What
Okay.
happens in it? I might have done.
What? Okay,
Sean
Chris.
Connery's in it.
Sean Connery, thank you. So Sean Connery is like in his 20s in this movie. It's like one of his first
Wow.
movies as an adult, and he plays this like handsome, nice Irish guy. And then there's this old father who has this young daughter, and he's like, this old father's like the caretaker in old Ireland of this land. And he's like constantly butting heads and at wits with this little leprechaun king named King O'Brien or King Brian or something like that. And it's just like, it's this awesome, like little rated PG movie where it's so funny because it's a Disney movie and it's PG, but there's drinking, there's brawls, There's, like death and like demons and like, oh, like, the banshee. It's just so funny that it's like a PG movie, but it came out in like maybe 69 or something. But if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it because it's such a great like Irish lore, fairies and leprechauns kind of thing going on.
Have I not seen that, man? Is that on Disney Plus?
It's old. It's on Disney Plus. You can find it on Disney Plus. I just watched it with my daughter. It's a lot of fun too for kids, I think.
Yeah, I need to watch that, man. That sounds great. I don't know how I haven't seen that, to be honest. I love Disney movies.
Yeah,
what movie did you think we were going to mention?
There's a film, I think it's called something like My Fairies in the Garden or something. And they say it's like based off a true story. But there's like, I don't know if you've seen the pictures. Apparently they've been debunked now, but they had like pictures of like fairies in the garden, but they were like your very typical winged Tinkerbell type fairies. And apparently they've been debunked. I don't know. I'm not saying they are not real, but they made a film about it. I think it was called My Fairies in the Garden, something along those lines. I don't know if I've actually seen it. I don't think I've seen it, the film, but it's based off a true story apparently. And it's about a little girl that finds fairies in the garden and they take pictures of them and stuff like that. But
I'm looking that up now. I see there's Fairy Tale, A True Story, 1997.
It might, yeah, it sounds like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's it. But I believe in fairy laws and stuff like that. I believe that these legends and laws that they're passed down generations, and they're all over the world. Like the same people are experiencing the same stuff all over the world, and I think that's before maybe we were a lot more connected than we think we were hundreds of years ago. I know our history can be very, who knows what life was like 100 years ago, but I think if we weren't connected, but we still have all these.
The fairies got him. Tommy, if you can hear us, the fairies got you. You're frozen.
You're frozen, brother. Okay.
Oh, he's back.
You're back now.
Tommy, the fairies got into your.
They didn't like me talking about the fairies.
I didn't want you talking about it.
That was weird. What happened there,
Oh my god! I'm having deja vu. By the way, this is crazy. Oh geez.
Your router didn't go out or anything, did it?
No, I don't think so. That was very weird. Right, stop talking about fairies, guys. They don't want us talking about that.
Yeah. They're gonna come get you.
I've got full internet. I don't know what happened there. That was weird.
By the way, I constantly joke with my wife that our babies are changelings. I don't know why. I just like messing with her. It's like I look at them and I go like, I know you're a changeling. I know you switched out with my real daughter. I'm gonna get her back. Like I just
yeah. And you know what's gonna happen? One day they're gonna go, I need you to stop. Just like that, like full adult voice.
Hey dad, shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth.
That's what I get now. When they get to like 14, they hate you. And you're the most annoying person.
No, I don't want that.
Yeah, until they see a ghost and then they come.
Yeah, then they come in and they're like, Dad, I saw something. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I've got a 14-year-old, 10-year-old, and Fredo, my boy, is 6. He still loves me. I'm still cool to him. But to the girls, I'm like,
go away.
Go away, Dad. You're not funny, man. Talking of crazy times, what do you guys think of the Jim Carrey story that's come out this week? Thoughts on that?
They're saying like it wasn't Jim Carrey, but it was Jim Carrey. Some like actor came out and said like he made a mask.
Yeah,
Jim Carrey, but it was like apparently AI generated. And then Jim Carrey's publicist came out and said it was Jim Carrey. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he got like plastic surgery done.
Yeah, I think that's the most logical explanation, I think.
Yeah, but the eye color change is like.
So I saw a TikTok from a medical doctor who was kind of explaining it, and there's like some kind of technique or something where they raise the eyelids because people who get older with this droopy eyelid syndrome, they need to like raise them. And he was just going through like, oh yeah, he probably got Botox here, like eye raise here. Because first I was watching the videos that you're talking about, Tommy, where it's just like, oh, it's so strange. Like his voice is different. His eyes don't match. And I totally saw that. But then this doctor like third party doctor broke it down. He's like, yeah, this looks really like common plastic surgery or some kind of surgery that just this guy leaned into. So I kind of think that's my say. But anyway, go ahead.
He wrote with his other hand as well. That was the other thing they were saying. It was weird. He was
Oh.
writing with his right hand and he's left-handed.
Interesting. I didn't hear that part. Oh wow, that is freaky. That's extra freaky.
Yeah, but I mean, I always think it's why would you not just, if these celebrities were a problem and you wanted to off them, say, why wouldn't you just do that? Well, it'd be more difficult to like off them and then clone them, right? That would be a lot
Right?
more effort.
Yeah.
Why would
Just
you do
threaten
that?
to take away their money, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who's going to benefit from cloning them? And for us guys to be like, it's a clone, So I never really understood.
Okay, guys, I'll let you go. Have fun the rest of the podcast. Thanks so much, Tommy. I'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you,
thanks,
brother.
Dean.
Okay,
Appreciate it, buddy.
later.
You mentioned before we started recording something about like a fox in your backyard or something.
Yeah,
like
no,
that?
this was a weird one as well. Man, your audience is going to think I'm so strange. But this happened not too long ago. It's about 2 or 3 years ago now, so it's quite a while ago. But I was living in this house, and I work a twilight, they call it. So I finish work at 1 a.m. UK time. So I finish work in the middle of the night when the streets are always very calm. There's never anyone about. It's very quiet. Never really see anyone when I finish work. It's very rare to see anyone, to see a car or anything. And I literally work right opposite where I live. It's like a 20-second walk. It's perfect in that sense. I can just get in, start doing the podcast. But anyway, so I finish work. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm walking home on my own. It's no one's normally about, so it's quite, as I say, rare to see anyone. And I noticed this lady walking near me, near where I live. I'm like, that's strange. There's a lady out. I didn't think too much of it. But she's walked into a bus shelter, which is right outside my house. And as she's walked into the bus shelter, this fox came out of the bus shelter. Now, I couldn't see the lady anymore because she was inside the bus shelter. And where she was standing, it's like there was like a block you couldn't see. There's like an advert on the side. You couldn't see, like a movie poster. So I couldn't see the lady anymore, but this fox came out, kind of looked at me and then run off. And I was like, that's weird. The fox must have got scared by the lady. Didn't think too much of it. So I've crossed the road, and this is all happened in like seconds. So it's like, what the heck? And I've looked back at the bus shelter. Now I should be able to see this lady in the bus shelter because there's nowhere she could have gone. Right, in this short space of time, and there was no lady there, and I was like, "What the heck?" Like I was just baffled. I was like, "Where has she gone?" Like, there is no way, even if she's Usain Bolt and she's got the speed, there is nowhere she could have gone. Like there's nowhere she could have gone. So I've seen a lady walk into the bus shelter. Then this all happened so quick. The fox has come out. I'm like, okay. I've crossed the road and looked back I was just curious to see what this lady was doing because there's no buses at this time either. I think the last bus is 11 p.m. So there's no buses till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So she's going to be waiting a long time. She completely disappeared. And I was like, what the heck? What have I just seen there? And obviously I think it's one of them that if you didn't look into this kind of stuff that we do, you'd probably maybe brush it off and maybe just be like, oh, well, there must be some reason, I don't know what, but she disappeared. And I remember just being really shocked. And I was doing a podcast then. So I kind of, I've got to get into podcast mode and talk to this lady that I was about to talk to. And, that was it. So I kind of didn't think about it much until after. And I was like, what the heck have I, and again, I don't know what it was. When I talk to people about it, people say shapeshifter and stuff like that, but I don't know, mate. It was just very strange. It was very strange. I'm not saying the lady turned into a fox, but there's no, I don't know what, I don't know what happened, man.
I think the fact that there was no buses coming by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You crossed the street and you had a clear line of sight of the bus stop, and she's not there anymore. Is it possible she could have got up and like left before you crossed the street? Maybe.
I mean,
depends on how dark it was and the street lights and all that stuff.
I guess it is possible, but I just don't know where she could have gone. I don't know where. Yeah. I feel like if she was running off, that would have been weird anyway. But if she was like running off, I don't know where she could have gone from my line of vision, you know. It's like there's no,
Right.
and I was just very confused. I was just very confused because she was just a solid, you know, she didn't look like, you know, it was just a solid lady just walking along. I didn't really get too much of, you know, what she looked like. I wasn't really paying too much attention. You know, it's just weird that there was someone out, because you don't ever, it's very rare to see anyone, you know, when I'm walking home. There's never anyone out. You know, you see the odd car every now and again, but it's even that's very rare. So it was just very strange to see someone, but I couldn't tell you what her face looked like, or you know, I think she was a blonde lady, but I can't really remember exactly. You know, I couldn't tell you exactly what she was wearing. It was all very quick. I just was aware that she was there, and that's just been one that's just baffled. Again, there might be a logical explanation, and I've just jumped straight to shapeshifter.
Right.
but,
Right.
but I mean, I don't know. It's just I tell people that, and they say, oh, it sounds like shapeshifter. I mean, that is wild, you know, if that is the case, but I don't know.
See, there's the thing. You share the story, and they're like, "I was like shapeshifter." You're not the one implying it was a shapeshifter. You're just saying, like, she
Yeah.
went there, a fox ran off, I crossed the street. In the time that I crossed the street, maybe a minute or so passes. She's not there anymore. I don't know what happened. Type
Yeah,
of
no,
thing.
I'm not saying it's a shapeshifter, but yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
But there's just nowhere she could have gone. That was the thing. And it was like
Right.
It was like seconds. But it's a weird one. I don't know what. And then actually saying that, the podcast that we done that night was with a lady called JJ Rose, really nice lady. I've had her on the show many times. You know, she's very spiritual. You know, she's got some wild abilities. Very nice lady. We had like a weird missing time moment through the show where we felt like we'd been recording. It was weird. I was sure we were recording for like 2 hours, and then when I looked back, it was like an hour. That was weird. I'm not saying it was anything to do with the shapeshifting.
Was that the same person you were talking about that was on? I think you had the gentleman from Spooky Shed,
Yes, Liam.
and you're talking about, like,
That's her.
was that the person that can, like, I don't know, was it astral project or something?
Yes. Yeah.
Man.
Which, yes, she lives in California.
Yeah.
She's a very interesting lady, because you tell someone that astral projecting and stuff like that fascinates me. I've never, as far as I'm aware, I've never done anything like that. But
Me either.
so this is going to sound so wild, but this is it, guys. So one morning, I'd been doing the podcast for a little while, not too long. My wife woke up, and she said she woke up and saw this like silver sphere in our room. Right, I know this sounds wild, but this is my wife as well, that's not that into this kind of stuff. So she was a bit freaked out. So she saw this like sphere in our room that basically hovered through the room and left. And I was like, that's weird. What the heck? And I was like, should I ask? At the time, I was talking to JJ a lot about the supernatural and stuff. And I was like, I'm going to ask JJ and see what she thinks that could be. Right. So I'm telling JJ, and she said, so she's based in California. I'm in the UK. She said, I'm going to hop over. And I know that sounds, to me, I'm like, okay, I'm not really believing that she can do that, basically, at the time. But I'm like, yeah, of course you can hop over. Yeah, come, tell me what you can see. So she starts explaining the layout of my house. Right. Now, you could say it's a mad guess, but I've never on any podcast or anywhere shown you the layout of my house or talked about the layout. I may have done now since then, but at the time, I never had spoken about the layout of my house. And she's saying, I'm walking up your stairs, your bathroom's directly in front of me, your bedroom's to the left. And she's like describing my house. And for me, that was like
what the hell?
That's kind of proof for me.
Yeah, right.
And her answer to what my wife saw, again, it sounds wild, but she said she believes it's some sort of drone from another dimension that was checking us out, basically. And I know that sounds pretty wild, but that's what she said. And I was like, okay, like, thank you. Like, and again, I don't know. My wife, she's not the sort of person that's going to make stuff up, and you know, she found it very strange. She's not really into this kind of stuff either. So, as I told you before, she said in the past, you need to stop doing this podcast because you're bringing weird stuff to the house. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another weird one, man. But JJ, very, very interesting lady. I recommend you have her on the podcast and talk to her about some of her abilities and that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that would be nice to talk to her if
Yeah.
you wanna,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
pass her
Yeah.
information over.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to talk about. I don't know if I'd want her to astral
Yeah.
project into my home because I have animals. They'll probably freak out.
That's true. But she was describing like the wood in my kitchen and stuff, you know,
Mhm.
and it proved to me, like, I know it's hard to kind of believe that someone can do that if you're a skeptical, but just can't think of any other way that she would know certain things, you know? It's
Yeah.
very strange, man.
Yeah, definitely. Here goes my morbid curiosity. I mean, once you talk to someone like that, it's like, can you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
And
think
if
she could astral project to the old home you lived in?
that is a great point. I've not even thought of that, of asking her that. I kind of,
Yeah.
when you talk to these people, you don't want to like, I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but you don't want to always ask them to like do
Do
things.
stuff.
and-
Yeah, right, exactly.
Show me. But that
Yeah.
is a good, that is a good one, man. Next time I have her on the podcast, I'm gonna drop that in somewhere. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try and see, because that would be very interesting. She's very big on like dreams and stuff and
Yeah.
the
yeah, I'd like
meaning
to talk
behind
about-
dreams. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to her about those dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I could have you on co-hosting with me for that
Yeah,
one.
I'll be
while
up for
she's
that,
on.
man. For
Yeah,
sure.
that'd be a good one.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting. You talk to these people, and it sounds wild to like the skeptics, but I think when
Yeah,
you
right.
kind of you look into this stuff, and I say skeptics, I mean like your normal, normal
Yeah,
people.
right.
Not that we're not normal, but when you you go down these
I
rabbit,
mean, we're football supporters. We're not.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Orient fan, definitely not normal. I mean, it's absolute
Oh, man.
curse.
Could be worse. You could be a Spurs fan. I mean,
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Facing relegation.
even
must
she
be.
can't astral project to
Yeah.
figure out a tactic for them.
That's not savable. Yeah, that's not savable.
No. Oh man. But to your point, Tommy, yeah. I kind of take a different view with skeptics now. Like previously they used to annoy me. It's like
Mhm.
because like before I did the show, it's like you don't know what I went through, so how dare you try to question, what I'm saying.
Mhm.
But now that I've like talked to so many people and I've gone through stuff myself, and retrospectively, you like maybe I should find a logical answer. Maybe I should take a skeptical view because that's less scary.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
With some of
Absolutely.
the stuff that we deal with.
Yeah. Sometimes you hope there's a logical reason behind some
Oh
of this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Like I said on your show, man, when I went on the first time around to share my stories, like please, please
Mhm.
tell me I was sniffing something to make me hallucinate, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's the last
Yeah.
thing I want to deal with. But as
Yeah,
I
man.
experienced on Ashley's show, it wasn't a hallucination.
Yeah. Yeah.
That shit
That was wild, man.
That was wild. Did that
Mhm.
happen to you too when you were on there? Did you see
Ah,
get any enhanced activity after going on our show?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
No?
But like I said, I think when you look into the paranormal, I really do believe it looks back. And when you talk about it, I think you are kind of inviting it, which is weird because when I first started, before I started Let's Get Freaky podcast, I used to listen to a lot of paranormal shows like the confessionals and things like that. And that's the reason what got me into wanting to do it as well. But I used to think to myself at the time, I shouldn't be listening to this. Even though I was fascinated by it and I loved to listen, and I did continue listening to it, I still do to this day. But I used to think to myself, I shouldn't be listening to this because I am actually inviting it again. I think that was a fault in my mind, and I think there is something to that. I think I think there is a very we spoke about this before, but I think there is a dangerous side to the paranormal that
Mhm.
you shouldn't mess with. As much as we love to, and we just want to get the answers. We want to find out. We want to
Right.
learn, and share experiences, which I think is very important as well. But you have got to be careful. I think there is
Right.
a dangerous side to it.
To be honest, I think most of us like a good scare too, right?
Yeah,
You like a
yeah,
good
man. I
story.
used to love listening. Yeah, man.
I always
Yeah.
love listening to what people go through.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
sometimes that bleeds over. It's
Yeah.
like like when we're teenagers and kids and you skip school, it's kind of exciting and fun. but when you get caught by the police,
Yeah.
that's part of the consequence of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's some stuff that'll latch on, man, and they won't
Mhm.
let go. So, and I think when you try to do the good thing, which I think what we're doing here, my podcast and your podcast, we create a platform for people to come on, and we're not calling them names or anything like that. I went through this. I want you to talk about it. But I think depending on who you talk to and what kind of energy they have attached to them, it can definitely come through
Mhm.
the screen,
Mhm.
because this is all energy, man. It's all
Absolutely.
electricity and energy, and
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
us talking, gives that power and energy. So you really have to be careful.
Absolutely.
There's been a few times where I've talked to some people where a couple days later I have some bad dreams or something like that, and I'm not even thinking about them.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, like with you, like you'll have your cameras go off and there's no one there and all that type of stuff. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think we got to be careful. We got to be vigilant.
Mhm.
Do whatever you need to do to protect yourself. Tommy, I've had you here for over an hour, my brother. I want to be respectful of your time because it's what
Nah,
almost
bro.
3:30 in the morning over there
It's a
for you.
pleasure, man. Anytime. As
Yeah,
I live on Eastern Standard Time anyway, so it's
right.
normal for me, bro. But it's always a
Yeah,
pleasure, man. It's always a pleasure.
yeah. But Tommy, you're a friend of the show. I consider you a friend off the show as well. You are welcome to come on whenever you want to come on and co-host
Thank you,
with
brother.
me if you want to talk about any topics. Because I like talking about astral projection and those CIA case files that they debunk and all that.
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
debunk, that they declassify with astral projection and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we could have some plenty
Oh,
good
bro.
conversations on that stuff.
Absolutely, man. We can go down some rabbit holes, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And as we've seen on our timer here, we could definitely talk. So
No, absolutely, bro. There's hours of us talking now. It's like
yeah,
between our podcasts, you've got a day's worth of podcasts there.
yeah. And when we finally meet at the pub for a couple of pints, it'll
Mhm.
probably
Oh,
it'll be like
yes,
8
bro.
hours later.
A
You
few
guys still at the
Guinnesses.
pub? Yeah, right?
We'll have a lot of Guinnesses, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We'll go to the Orient match.
Yes, man. Yeah, absolutely. You gotta come
So,
over. We'll take you to Orient. We'll go Liverpool.
yeah,
Absolutely, bro.
it'll
Let's
be a
do it,
good
man.
definitely. But folks, if you like football or soccer, Tommy and I are planning to do a football-based podcast. We're gonna try to do it for maybe once a month or so.
Hmm.
What do you think, Tommy? Like maybe like a recap of the results, and we could talk about
Yeah.
some of the controversies and
Some
stuff.
of the stories and
Is it?
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Some of the headlines over
Yeah.
in Europe. I think it'd be good fun.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Talk a
So,
little bit
folks,
about the Mighty O's. Maybe a little bit.
yeah,
Not too much.
yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. Hey, every team deserves recognition and
Absolutely, man.
coverage, right? Yeah. But
Absolutely.
for any listeners abroad or in the US, if you like football, soccer, stay tuned for that. We'll let you know when that comes out. But Tommy, for the listeners, where can they find you?
Yeah, so Let's Get Freaky podcast. Tommy Cullum's Let's Get Freaky. Wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. We're also on YouTube as well. Let's Get Freaky. You'll see my little ginger cartoon face as the logo with a Bigfoot, a ghost, and an alien. And yeah, we talk, we get freaky. We get into a lot of different topics. It's mainly guests that are sharing experiences, but we also have conspiracy episodes. And yeah, we get freaky wherever you listen to podcasts.
You heard him, folks. Go give his show a listen. Go watch the videos on YouTube. His guests are great. His show is great. I listen to them frequently. And folks, if you want to be on the show like Tommy was today, shoot us an email at twroadpodcast@gmail.com. That's probably the most fun when it comes to doing a podcast, is bringing people on and talking about their experience. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode and tune in for the next one.
You've reached the end of tonight's journey on the Wandering Road. The show is written and produced by me, Chris, and my co-host, Dean. If you've got a scary story of your own, or if you'd like to join us as a guest, send your tale to twroadpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to follow us on social media for more haunted fun. And if you enjoyed tonight's episode, please rate, review, and share the show. It helps keep the lantern burning for fellow travelers. Until next time, keep your eyes on the road and your mind in the shadows, because the wandering never ends.